We're going to invest in the Marine Corps and the entire United States military like we never have before. Over $1 trillion we're going to invest in building up the manufacturing base of this country.
They're investing over $1 trillion in the Department of Defense. But here's a real question. Who is going to profit from this spending? There's a massive opportunity here, but most businesses are about to get blindsided. There's a few reasons for this. Stick around. I'm going to tell you why. Now, before we go on, I just want to make clear that because the vice president says we're investing trillions of dollars in defense spending, does not mean that that will happen without hurdles. The House and the Senate are a little bit divided on how to increase or how much they're going to increase spending. And then we also have to take a look at the landscape and see, where is this spending going to go? Is it going to go to weapon systems, military readiness, advanced technology, cybersecurity, border security, software development? All of these are targets for increased spending. Increased spending is a really good news story for defense contractors and for small businesses that are in this game. But we are in a shifting landscape right now, and we really have to understand our footing, because chasing opportunities down on SAM.gov the way that you may have been doing this in the past is not going to work here. At least there are other areas for exploitation, and we really need to understand what those are. If you're not up to speed on where the money's going, then you're going to get left behind. So I'm going to break that down next. By the way, we cover spending in depth in the GovClose certification program. If you're interested in taking a look at our syllabus for free, you can download that. Just leave a comment saying, I want the syllabus, so you can see what we provide in the training, and I will get that syllabus sent out to you. Okay, now let's talk about the big disruptor here, other transaction authority. I just did a great episode with Chelsea Maggot, who's an OTA expert. She's been doing that for a long time. Now, if you watch this, you know I'm also a big fan of other transaction authority. Thanks to a memo from the Secretary of Defense, he's now encouraging agencies to use OTAs and CSOs to fast-track projects, especially software and tech development. So instead of the long process that I talk about all the time that is heavily regulated, they are pushing a process referred to as OTA or other transaction authority, which is much, much faster. And by the way, you are looking in different places for these type of opportunities. It's great for small businesses as long as you understand how to go after these OTA opportunities. If you are a business that is considered innovative, if you're developing technologies, if you're building out software solutions, cutting edge tech, anything, then other transaction authority is something you really, really need to take a look at. And I would actually argue that businesses that maybe don't squarely fit into that also should be looking at this, because the increased use of other transaction authority is going to speed things up. And it's going to make it easier for you to sell to the government. And it looks like this is a path that the federal government wants to go down. If anybody wants our checklist on how to use other transaction authority, again, put that in the comments. Hey, make sure, guys, when you're asking for something, one thing at a time, specific. I'm looking for the other transaction authority checklist. Or, hey, Rick, I want the syllabus for GovClose. Make sure you delineate. OTAs are new, but they're certainly not the only game in town. I've talked about the traditional acquisitions approach, how to sell to government agencies, and a lot of that is still going to apply. Most of that, frankly, is still going to apply. Now, there's another thing happening right now that we all have to be aware of, and this is the use of GSA schedules. If you've watched our content in the past, you know that when I've worked with clients and companies, I would always say, let's take a look at how much the government is spending utilizing these GSA schedules before you go out and get one. GSA is not only a federal organization, but GSA has contract vehicles. You can apply to be on them. It takes a while, 6 months to a year, but once you're on there, you can sell your products, services to the government. It's another way for the government to buy from you. Historically, you really needed a GSA schedule if the government heavily utilized GSA for purchasing. But President Trump signed an executive order saying that he wants to consolidate procurement for simple services, products, some other areas into GSA, meaning he wants to use GSA more. He wants GSA to be the central procurement arm of the federal government. This is why GSA was established in the first place years and years and years ago, but it never really fully took over federal acquisitions. Most agencies want to do the buying on their own. Now, there are a lot of questions as to how far GSA will be able to increase its federal procurement arm. Are you going to need a GSA schedule to sell to the government? If the government already uses GSA to buy the things that you sell and you don't have a GSA schedule, I would be looking at getting that GSA schedule for your business. And you better start now because it takes a long time to get it. What's the pain point of GSA? It's really just a huge pain in the ass to get. So the application process, it does take a long time, but once you have it, it gives the government another way to buy from you. Contracts are not going to fall from the ceilings and land in your lap. The money's not going to explode from the heavens, but increased use of GSA, increased use of OTA, these are things we need to understand. Does my business fit into this category? Should I be looking at OTA? Should I be looking at GSA? Do I need a GSA schedule now that President Trump signed this executive order? Again, if you want it, put it in the comments. I want the GSA prep checklist. We'll send it your way. With all these changes, there is a lot of confusion about what strategy to take. But here's the thing. You don't have to choose between GSA schedules and OTA. They are tools used for two different objectives. So if you're developing cutting edge technology, look at OTA. If you're selling office supplies, make sure you have GSA. What you actually want is a customized approach selling to the government. I've said this 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. Understanding how the government buys what you sell, keeping abreast of what the changes are, right? Right now, the changes are just being broadcast very loudly, so everyone's talking about them, but things are always changing. I could be selling to one agency in the government for 10 years, and then all of a sudden they decide to start using GSA or another vehicle like a NASA soup or something. Those are the type of things you got to be paying attention to that because it's not easy. It's not something you can get in a week. You can't just get a GWAC, government-wide contract vehicle, or a GSA schedule in a week. It takes time. It takes planning. So we want to make sure we are cognizant of the changes. Now, for your business, you may have an approach where it makes sense to have another transaction authority pipeline and a GSA pipeline. It may make sense for you to find opportunities early before an RFP comes out. By the way, it always makes sense to do that. Always, always, always. We're always trying to find out about opportunities as early as possible and then get meetings with the people that are actually going to put you on contract. This is something we go very, very much in depth in the GovClose certification program. Spending, strategy, the vehicles we're going to use, how we're selling to the government, how we're getting meetings. Again, when you take a look at that syllabus, just drop you want the syllabus for GovClose in the comments. You're going to see just how in-depth our training is. And of course, you've seen the interviews with the certified students. So we know that the Department of Defense is going to receive more funding. We know that this administration values the military and is going to be spending in a lot of manufacturing and defense technology areas that are going to influence all of the services under the Department of Defense. We know that the administration is pushing for GSA to be way more involved with the procurement process, and that the Secretary of Defense is pushing other transaction authority to be used more, especially in software and related technology development opportunities. So if you want to thrive in this changing landscape, if you want to take advantage of the money that's being spent by the government, you are going to have to adapt. So you can learn the process, pay attention to the news. If you're selling to the government, talk to your federal agencies, talk to your program managers and your contracting officers. Find out if they are making changes according to what the new policies are. As always, leave your comments for me, and that's how we make our new videos. I'll see you in the next episode.